What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Let me get myself straight here. Hold up here. Let's see. I was supposed to get this straight. I apologize. All right, y'all. What's going on, everybody? This is Kilo Whiskey 5 Delta Romeo Echo. We're gonna have a good show today. We're gonna talk about antennas, antenna setups. I got my man Ash here, KK7GFG. And we just gonna get started. Before we get started, though, I just want to make sure. It seems I think I'm not showing up in Facebook, so let me just make some adjustments real quick, and we'll go ahead and with that. Give me 1 second. All right, just give me 1 second here. I'll be right there. All right, I just shared it in the Black Hand Radio Operators group Facebook group. So we good to go. We good to go.
Good
All right,
deal.
all right, my man.
What's up, brother?
Ain't nothing, man. Ain't nothing. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. This morning started off pretty rough, but we made it.
All right, I'm gonna have you move over just a little bit because this thing is blocking your face out the other way.
Oh,
Yeah, I ain't. I might have set that up a little too high, but
I don't know if I can get over there, man.
well, if you can't, don't worry about it, man. Let me know what I'll do. Don't worry about that, man. I'll figure it out. Go towards your mic. Yeah, that's good right there. If you can stay
There
right
we
there.
go.
If
I can do
if
that.
you're uncomfortable, let me know. We'll just go ahead and do it.
I'm
All
just
right, so
gonna lean.
we got that lean. All right, y'all. So here we go, y'all. So let me just get this set up here. All right. So look, we're gonna talk about antennas and antenna setups. All right. And and all of that stuff. So let me just say this one thing. Back in the day when we first day of school, it didn't even have to be the first day of school. But when you bought new clothes and all that stuff, you got your stuff ready. You was just ready. Got your new gear and all that, right? You got the fly shirt, you got the fly pants, but your shoes was old as hell, like old as hell, and it made your whole outfit look messed up, right?
Yeah,
It's just if you're only as good as your shoes. You know what I'm saying? When you go into a party and you're getting dressed up, y'all, you're only as good as your shoes.
it'll ruin the whole outfit.
It'll ruin the whole outfit. And I'm going to tell you about relate this to antennas. Your radio and your setup and your shack ain't nothing unless if your antenna is banging. Your antenna
That's
is
right.
equivalent to your shoes. If your shoes is whack, your whole outfit is whack. If your antenna is whack, you ain't gonna get on the air, and ain't nobody gonna hear you. You're gonna be
No,
I
you're
ain't
gonna
gonna
be
say
frustrated.
frustrated. I was about to say a silent key, but we don't want to go that route.
It ain't
But
that bad.
you just gonna be quiet. So, Ash, man, let me ask you this, man. I got a couple of questions, and you can go on from there.
Yeah.
Well, let me see what we got in here, man. All right, let's see here. All right, so let me just see one more thing. Okay, Ash. So we got some comments in here. So let me say this. Okay, all right. I'm so distracted. Ash, what's the first thing we need to know about antennas, brother?
So you brought up the shoe analogy. I like to use the tire analogy. So funny story. This morning, I get ready to go to work, walk out to the car or the SUV, and there's a nail sticking out of the sidewall of my tire. So that's what I spent most of my morning doing, is buying a whole new set of tires because I had one nail in it. And your tires are equivalent to your antenna on your radio. You could have a Ferrari, you can have the best performing car there is. But if you don't have good tires on it, you're not going anywhere. And if you do go somewhere, you're gonna have a hard time. Anybody's ever driven in the rain on bad tires, you're sliding all over the place and the car's hard to handle. That's the exact same thing that you're gonna run into with your antenna. You can have the best radio in the world, one of those $14,000 Kenwoods. But if you don't have an antenna that's gonna work with it, you're not gonna hear anything and you're not gonna be able to talk to anybody. So your antenna is the most important part of any radio set, whether it's because I did shortwave listening for years, decades. since I was like 13. And scanners, any kind of radio you can imagine, I probably got it from when I was 13 years old all the way up to now. And I just love the radio hobby. But my family and now my wife, they don't understand antennas. What? you know,
My wife's still calling ham radio CB, so I feel you, bro.
you know, she goes in the attic to get something down, and I'm like, don't hit my antennas.
Right, right, right.
So you put them where you can, and you put them, wherever you can put them safely and efficiently. But like I live in an HOA, so I really have to be cognizant of what's visible from the road and what my neighbors can see and this and that. So I have to be a little bit more creative with my antenna setups. So that's where I think a lot of my knowledge came from in my digging into the internet and trying to figure out what's the best way for me to still be able to get on the air and not have a 50-foot tower in my backyard where I'm getting, fined from the HOA or, you know, it, you don't want too many antennas to be visible, whether you had an HOA or not. You still want it to be presentable,
Right,
but you
right.
want it to be functional. So uh, we can start out by you want to start out with some basic stuff or
Yeah, let me ask you this, man, just real quick. What is the first thing we need to consider when we're talking about getting an antenna?
I would say the first thing, one, consider your budget
Mhm.
and consider what you can afford. Because there, like I say for HF, if you want to get on HF on 20 or 40 meters or 10 meters, you can get just a simple long wire antenna. You can go to Home Depot and spend $5 on some simple wire. Find out what the length is you need for that band, and run that from a pole or a tree, and you can get on the air with just that. The
Hmm.
importance is making sure that antenna is cut to the right length. And we can get into that in a little bit. And that may be even a whole nother show we can do on antenna designs and lengths and how to calculate all that kind of stuff. We could spend a decade getting into the science of RF and all that. It can get complicated. But first thing, consider your budget. You don't have to spend a lot of money. And two, which is really important, what kind of space do you have to set up an antenna? Like
Hmm.
some people don't have a lot of room to set up a long wire, so their best option may be a vertical, you know, or a magnetic loop. They're a few feet wide and they can sit on the ground and work efficiently.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of options, but your budget's going to dictate, what you can do. And if you don't want to spend a lot of money on it, and I think it's even more fun to not spend a lot of money and be creative and come up with an antenna that's simple. And then when you're talking to somebody that's 5,000 miles away, you can say, hey, I got a simple $5 long wire that I set up in my backyard. And I'm talking to you from 5,000 miles away.
Right, right. Let me ask you this
That's
real quick.
so, yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Let me ask you this real
No, go
quick.
ahead, brother.
Now, I'm going to speak on the other side of this, just so everybody, some people agree with it. Some people may say no. You spend the money. Um, you let's say you have a budget. Do you think do you think that you still should just spend the money for the antenna? That might cost a little more just for the long term and the long run of you being a ham and for future radios that you get.
Possibly. Uh, that's a two-edged sword. I'm a tinkerer. I like to tinker with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I would get something that I can work with and I can do upgrades to, and I can change, over time. As I upgrade my license or as I upgrade power, I can grow into it. I can build off of that. Um, if you have the budget, you could go ahead and just get an antenna. Say you are a technician and you own 10 meters, and you're not running 1500 watts and all this kind of stuff, and you don't have the HF privileges yet, but you know you're going to upgrade. So you can go ahead and get the expensive antenna that'll handle all of those bands and handle the power. And that way, when you do upgrade, you got it. You don't have to worry about it. You can just go ahead and start talking.
Got you.
So it's up to you, really.
There's a comment here. Stacy Lewis, she said, make it yourself. Now, you said something about, thank you, Stacy, for the comment. You said something about, the angel says yes. You said, hold on, Angel, what's going on, my man? Yo, big up the Angel, man. Good, what's up, brother, down in South Carolina, man? What's going on, my brother?
South Kakalaki. Yes.
My man, Angel. So let me ask you this. Stacy says, you can make it yourself. You said something about buying a wire. I've had plenty of people tell me that, like when I first started out in August.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's just a piece of wire? Like, what else would you need with that?
So you can get the most expensive antenna that you can buy. At the end of the day, it's a fancy piece of wire. It may be made out of aluminum, or a different shape of metal, but at the end of the day, it's going to function the same as a piece of wire. So what you really got to figure out is, and I want to get into the calculations and all this kind of stuff, but I don't want to do that on this show because it's
right. I think
if I open that door.
Yo, you know what? I was going to say real quick, not to interrupt you. I was going to say this might have to be a 2-part show because it's just so much. We ain't going to cover all this in an hour. So go ahead,
Yeah.
brother. And if we got to get to some other stuff for the next show, that's what we're going to do. Go ahead, brother.
So what you could do is if you have an antenna tuner, which most HF rigs do have an antenna tuner in it, and it'll handle, if your SWR is off anywhere 3 or so and below, that antenna tuner in the radio will take care of that. But if it's higher than that, you're going to need an external antenna tuner. So if you already have an antenna tuner, you can throw yourself a piece of wire up there that's cut to that band, and then you should be straight.
Right. And
I'll give you a good example because my in-fed half wave is piece of wire. It's literally a long piece of wire, and at the end of that, it's got a little box where it makes up for the difference of the other side of the dipole. But we don't have to go into that. But if you look at a simple antenna like a G5 RV, that's probably most people on HF's first antenna. If you look at it, you say, man, I can make that. It looks like a coil of wire. That's all it is. So get you an antenna tuner and some wire and have fun.
Okay. Now, what type of, because I hear people say, and I'm going to ask some of these questions that I always wanted to know when I was first starting out, as far as like magnetic antennas and all of that stuff. How does that work? What is that more catered for? People with small spaces, homeowners associations?
Yeah. Magnetic loop, it takes a little bit to get into explaining how that works, and it's probably a little bit over my head. But a magnetic loop is probably, for HF, you're talking maybe 3 feet wide, if that. And they make them bigger, but these things don't take up any space. And the way they function is you don't have to have a lot of height with it, and you don't have to have a lot of space. You can mount it on a pole straight a foot or two off the ground. Like I have a magnetic loop that's a receiving antenna that I used to use for my shortwave radios. And since I'm in the HOA, I stuck that bad boy behind a bush in the backyard. Nobody ever knew it was there. And I was receiving stuff all around the world.
Wow.
And there's a few of them out there. They cost a little more because you need there's some electronics to go with it. But they work wonderfully.
Okay.
And people will talk all over the world with a magnetic loop that's just sitting pretty much on the ground and not taking up any space. And these things, I'm not sure about the power capabilities of them. I'm sure you can probably find one that do the legal limit.
Right,
but
right.
they're just wonderful antennas, man.
Yeah, and you said you needed some additional stuff for it. What would be those additional things?
So it pretty much it'll come with everything you need. There's a little what's it called? It's not a transformer. There's a box that connects to it. That lets you connect your coax to, and all the witchcraft and um, electronics are in that box. So you really don't need anything extra.
Hmm.
It should come with everything you need.
Okay, okay, yeah,
Yep.
because Terrence, big up to Terrence, man. What up, Terrence? He asked what was the downsides of a magnetic loop antenna. So,
So
um,
the downside is they receive very well and they transmit very well, but nothing in the world is going to beat an antenna that's as high as you can get it up in the air, whether it's on a tower, off a pole, off the side of your house, tree. If you can get that antenna as high as possible without, causing problems, that's going to beat everything.
right, yeah, they say height is might, man, and
It
I
is.
I believe that, man, because I have and Eric Hicks says positioning. Eric, what's going on, my brother? Eric says position, position, position. I agree with that
That's
too.
true.
Um,
Yeah.
my I have a MFJ 1984 HP high power half wave infrared antenna. It's a wire antenna. It puts out up to 800 watts. Puts out to up to
Hmm.
800 watts. I'm only pushing 100. But it's sloped. It goes 15 feet up the side of my house, right? Because I can't
Right.
put nothing next to, and I don't live in a homeowners association, but they're real strict on stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I just put the wire 15 feet up on my house along the down the siding, which is gray. I had to spray paint the black wire gray, so it kind of blends in.
Right.
So it goes 15 feet up, and then it slopes out about 75 feet up in the air. And I've hit,
Whew.
I mean, I hit more. I hit some serious places, man. Israel,
Yeah.
Germany, Japan. So it's just amazing how this wire stuff, like it's just a wire, and and you can hit all these
That's
there
the
going,
beauty.
yeah,
That's the
yeah,
beauty of it,
yeah,
man.
yep, yeah, man.
And I
It's
think
crazy.
that's what makes this hobby so amazing.
Hmm.
And, call me a nerd, whatever you want. That's fine. I'll take it.
Right,
Because
right,
I get excited about antennas because
right.
it's a simple piece of wire and I'm talking to somebody on the other side of the world. So I have para infeds. It's a full um does all the bands.
Mm-hmm.
It's the half wave junior I bought first, and it's about 30 feet up in the tree. It slopes up from the pretty much from the ground and goes up to about 30 feet. And I've talked all over the world on that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then I bought another HF radio. I bought a FDX10, and I said, well, I don't want to swap antennas, so I bought the full version of that same antenna.
Okay.
And I said, I'm getting this sucker up there this time. So I'm out there in the backyard with slingshots and fishing wire, and my wife's like, yeah, I don't know who I married, but well, she was out. She helped me with it. She's a trooper, and I got this one about 50, almost 60 feet up on a second tree out there. And one thing I did notice between these two radios, between the two antennas, is the one that was lower received wonderfully. My noise floor was about a S1 or a 2.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. I put this one up there higher and my noise floor went up dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
So I started asking around or some of the local hams and some guys have been doing this, for longer than me. And they kind of confirmed what I was thinking because my first thought was noise inside the house it's picking up something. But I said, if the other one's not picking it up, then why would this one? And it's the height. The higher you get, the more things you're going to pick up. So noise is in everything.
Right, right.
So the higher you get, the more noise you're going to get. So that's a trade off.
Mm-hmm.
I think the magic numbers are between 30 and 50 feet. I think that's doable for the average person.
Right.
And
Right.
I wouldn't, if you can get up higher than that, that's more power to you. But I think the 50 feet was about as high as I want to go,
Right.
because
Right.
I'm starting to get that noise floor. It makes a difference,
Right.
but it
Right.
does talk further. I know that for a fact.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Dr. Eric Kareem, what up, my brother? Good brother here too, man. He says, let me make sure I can keep this up here. It says adapt your antenna for your environment, and the wires will work wonders at low cost all around the world.
Sure will.
True that, man. That's good stuff right
Yes,
there.
sir.
You're absolutely right, man. Because I don't, I realize, man, even though you live in a limited space, man, you can get on the air just about with just about anything. So
Oh yeah.
it's just a matter of your setup and all of that. Let me ask you this, man, about antennas. I want to go just jump into this real quick. I just got a quick question about this stuff, because this is some of the questions that I did get some questions from some other people who emailed me. And these were
Okay.
new people. So I think we know the answers to this, but I just want to, there's people that are viewing that just don't know. So I want to get to them
Yeah.
first. So their thing was with the grounding. So they realized they have to ground the antenna.
Right.
But there's no space to ground the radio. I guess what they were saying is, and I had this issue too. My antenna is grounded. But the radio's not grounded, because if I ground the radio and the grounding wire based on where the radio is at in my house,
Yeah.
that grounding wire would have to be at least 70 feet to get it to the point where I can get it outside. So then you're talking about it resonating to an antenna or whatever. So
Yeah.
do you really have to ground? Is there another way to ground the radio within the house? And I know that's not an antenna related, kind of not antenna
That's a
related,
good question, though.
but
Yeah. So if you were to Google that, you would be Googling for a long time, because my shack is on the second floor of our house. So there's no way I can run a ground wire all the way down to a ground rod outside. It defeat the purpose. So what I've learned is you want to two things. You want to have all the equipment grounded so you don't get any kind of static discharge. You don't want to shock yourself,
right.
and you don't want the RF coming back into your radio. You want it to go out through the ground.
Right.
So what I do, and what works very well, is I ground everything at the antenna. My antennas are grounded with 3 ground rods. I've got the lightning protectors on there, and all of that is linked straight to a ground. So that's the best that I can do. And I don't have any RF, in my shack at all. I've never heard anybody say they heard it. I've never gotten any kind of shocks. The only thing that most people would tell you about having your equipment grounded is lightning strikes. And if your antenna gets struck by lightning, like if mine got struck, it's the antenna itself is grounded. The coax is grounded because it's linked to the lightning protector, and that's grounded. So the shield of the coax is straight to ground. And just from what I know, if your antenna gets hit by lightning, there's nothing gonna save your radio. I don't care if it's grounded or not. You're probably gonna lose it.
Hmm.
So what most people will tell you, the safest way you can do it is, if you don't have access to a ground for your radio, get you a antenna switch, and when you're not using your radio, disconnect, turn it to um, probably nothing. Just if you don't have a ground, switch it over to nothing, so it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't go straight into your radio. There's no
Wow.
right answer,
Right.
you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
but because most
That's.
people that have grounds, they switch it to the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and then that'll go straight to ground. But
Okay. Yeah.
it's a
That sounds
complicated
like
one for us.
a good idea, man. That switch, because for myself, man, if I go out of town or whatever, if I think it's going to rain or whatever, I'm just going to take the
Yeah.
antenna out of the radio. But that's that could be to do that all the time, when I
Yeah.
can just get a switch and just switch this, switch that. So
Yeah, it
that's a good
works.
idea. Um, now as far as the that was the lightning what's the name of it? The lightning.
The lightning arresters.
Yeah, what I don't have those. Now, how does now I know that it serves the purpose of protecting the coax, but as far as the lightning arresters, is it possible to get away without having it?
Oh yeah, you can get away with it. As long as you're grounded, man. As long as your antenna system's grounded,
Okay.
you're doing the best you can. Lightning is a force of nature that not a lot's going to stop
Mm-hmm.
unless you have like the cell phone towers and the big towers that we see all the time.
Right. Right.
Those bad boys are in the ground, and there's many ground rods around them, and
Mm-hmm.
they almost attract lightning, and they go straight through the metal, straight into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very complicated, not complicated, but it's intense. It
Right.
takes a lot of work to get that serious.
Right.
Um, People been doing ham radio for a very long time, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to bet that 80% of us don't have the ground system that some electrical company would tell you need to have. Make the
Okay.
best grounding system that you can, that's safe and what you can afford, and
Right.
talk on the air, brother.
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
So when I got my grounding rod, I got an 8 feet. And for a minute, man, I'm just like, yo, it's not gonna go down any further. I think it was this was after this was after like a half a foot. I don't think it's gonna go down. So one trick that everybody knows you can do, but this is for people who gonna do it on their own for the first time, whatever.
Yeah.
Hit it in there, take it out, put some water in there, wait about 2 minutes, and
Yeah.
it'll go. Just keep going down. That thing went all the way down to 8 feet. I was like, I didn't know it was gonna do that, but two questions. No, one question. But let me tell you what I did before I got that ground rod in there. In the state of Virginia, and your state could be different. Whoever whatever state anybody lives in, I called a place called forgot the name of it, but they come out and just check around your house to see what wires are underground, like
Oh
water,
yeah.
water, electrical, cable,
Yeah.
phone. I called them and they came out and they marked it. So make sure you mark. Please make sure you mark where mark the ground, get it marked to make sure that there's no pipes or electrical wires under there. Because you think you on a budget, man, you're gonna be paying some money with that. So I got that. I did that. I got that all taken care of. What? The 8 feet, I was struggling to get it down before I used the water. How far down does it have to be? Like, what can you get away with? Does it have to be 8 feet, or can you get away with 6 feet or 5 feet?
So they do make 6-foot ground rods. I think they make them even shorter than that. The electrical standard, like everybody's house, I think in every state, the electrical standard is 8 feet. So that's why we always say 8 feet.
Right.
So
Right.
if you can do 8 feet, like I live in Washington State, and up here in the mountains, man, in some cities, you're not getting an 8-foot ground rod in there
Right.
unless you
Right.
got a some kind of machinery to help you get it in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not. It's too many rocks in the ground. It's just not going to happen. I tried it.
Right. Right.
Um,
Missed you. Excuse me.
it's
Miss
hard to say,
Utility.
man.
Excuse me, real quick. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Miss Utility. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, man. Because that was gonna bother me all night. I didn't mean to interrupt you, brother Ash. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Miss
No,
Utility. That's
I
the
did
name
the
of
same
it.
thing, man. Them boys came out and spray painted all over my grass and all orange spray paint. I'm like, come on, man. You
Yeah.
could have
Yeah.
left a note.
Oh, they got the grass. I had dirt on mine, so I wasn't worried about it. But they got your grass, man. Your joint was looking like a football field.
It was orange, bro.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, but
But
I
as
wasn't.
best you can, man. If you can
Mm-hmm.
do 8 feet. And what I did, ended up buying one. But if you're having trouble getting it in the ground, go to a Home Depot or Lowe's, and you
Mm.
can rent one of these. It's not a jackhammer, but it's a hammer tool,
Okay.
and it's got a little uh, fitting on the front, and you put that on top of the ground rod, and you ting 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 ting, and it looks like it's not moving, but it's
Mm-hmm.
moving a millimeter at a time, and before you know it, that thing's gonna be all the way in the ground.
Right. Right.
So that'll save you some time and frustration.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you hit rocks, and if you keep on it, usually it'll break through those rocks or either push it out of the way. That and some pouring some water down there, that's your best bet.
Right. Right. Now, one thing that I hear a lot of, and I had trouble with that myself, is picking coax, the type of coax cable.
Mm.
So let me tell you, man, and I'm gonna tell you this, man, and I'm just like, if I asked 10 people what kind of coax I should get, I got, if I asked 10 people, I got 12 answers. Like every answer
Yep.
was different. Like, and for me, it was hard because I didn't know which answer was more credible. And it was just like, because I do a lot of research and then I'm narrowing it down to what people use. I'm watching YouTube videos. As far as HF, what are the top 3 coax would you recommend? Now this is everybody, this is not something written in stone. This is not
No.
the law. This is Brother Ash's opinion of what 3 coax would he get. And if you want to make a comment and leave your top 3, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll put it on here. But what are your top 3?
So I'm looking on, I don't know if I can advertise. I'm looking on a very popular ham radio website right now.
Is it Ham
And
Radio
this is
Outlet?
why, no, them my boys, man.
I love them dudes, man.
They like the angels of ham radio.
Yeah,
man.
they are, man. They are. You right. You right.
Yeah, but this is it's got an X in it, and they some engineers. I don't know if I can advertise on it, but anyway, if you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah, I got you. I mean, you can advertise
there
on
we
it.
go.
It's all good. Yeah, you say whatever you want, man. That's fine.
Oh, DX Engineering.
Okay. All right.
They have them and ham radio outlet is just they're go-to places.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So again, get what you can afford because coax will end up costing you more than your whole radio setup.
Hmm.
If on HF, you don't have as much loss per foot in a HF frequency as you do in VHF and UHF.
Okay.
So on HF, you don't have to be as concerned with how far, because I've got a 75, 80-foot run from my antenna all the way upstairs to my radios. So for my VHF and UHF stuff, I use RG 413 or RG 400 Max. It's their brand. That's what they sell,
Okay.
and it's expensive, but it works. Very low loss. You can bury it. All this stuff. It's just my go-to coax.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that that's what I wanted to get because I wasn't going to dig and run this stuff again. I said, I'm going to spend this money one time. That's it.
Right. Right.
But for HF, get you some RG8.
Okay. All right. All
you
right.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and run. They sell it everywhere.
Right. Right. And there is a difference between the RG8 and the RG8X. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a bunch of differences.
Mm-hmm.
We could, just like antennas, man. We could go a whole show on just coax.
Mm-hmm.
So what I will caution people with is when you go on places like Amazon and you buy coax, do a little research and stick with some good brand names because there's a lot of knockoff brands out there. There's a lot of cheap stuff that it looks like it's legit, but when you put it to your radio, when you start to use it and you start to put power through it, things change. And that's where you see what you paid for. You get what you pay for.
Right. Right.
But it's best to stick with a brand that you know is reputable.
Right. Right.
But get what you can afford. And RG8 and RG58, you can use it too. For HF, I don't think you're gonna really notice on a short run, 10, 15 feet, get the cheapest thing you can find.
Got you.
That's a quality coax, but get the cheapest thing you can find.
Right.
Because it's not gonna make a difference.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So let me ask you this. This is a question that I want to know. My concern when I first started, you know, started entertaining the option of getting HF radio as opposed to UHF VHF. By the way, I'm never going back. I'm not gonna say I'm never going back to UHF VHF because for locally I'll use it. But my concern with getting HF, they kept talking about the radiation or the HF radiation or something like that, that harmful to humans and your body. Um, and the guy was saying, well, if you're only pushing 100 watts, you don't have to worry about that. It's more, or if you're pushing like limits, the 1500 limit. Now, how does that work out with the HF, like the radiation and all of that stuff? How does that work?
So, excuse me. That's why we people will tell you to get your antennas as high as possible. One, because it receives and transmits better, and two, it's out of the way of people and pets. Because 100 watts, it's hard to get. I ain't gonna say it's hard, but you can get an RF burn if you grabbed your antenna while you were transmitting. You might feel it,
Hmm.
but 1,000 watts, that's where your people you can get some good RF burns from that. So it's on HF. You really got to be standing next to the antenna, almost leaning on it, for you to get any kind of radiation or harmful burns and this and that. Yeah, I don't think that's what we what a lot of people should be concerned about. Don't let that don't let that put any kind of fear into you, because when people hear RF or radiation, they think, "Oh, I'm going to get cancer from this thing, or it's gonna burn me, or I'm gonna get sick." No, that's not. It's RF energy, but it's not the same kind of RF energy that we're going to get any kind of cancer or sickness from. Because people work around radio stations every day next to towers and all, and they sit there and that's their job. They're fine.
Right, right.
It's the higher frequencies that we really have to be concerned about. I mean, in the gigahertz that you
Mm-hmm.
really, have to be concerned about.
Right.
And that's where you can get some real good burns from some really high frequencies at high power. But again, put your antenna up where people can't get to it. So
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of reasons, safety, you don't want somebody running into it.
Right.
And I've got two dogs, and the last thing I want is them running around knocking my antenna over.
Mm-hmm.
I will
Mm-hmm.
or getting caught up in a wire. Not for the dog safety, my antenna safety. But,
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm
Yeah.
playing. I love my dogs, but you want it where nobody can knock it over. It's not in the way. It's up out of the way, and
Mm-hmm.
that way everything's covered. You're not
Right.
getting any kind of RF out of it. they're not in the way, and they're not going to get hit by everything, and you have to go out there and fix it all the time. Like I told you the other night, man, I was out there 10 o'clock at night in the rain and freezing, fiddling with antennas. My wife
Mm.
just says, you're crazy. But
Right. Right.
that's the love for the hobby.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
No
what we
doubt.
do.
No doubt. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. So yeah, because my antenna is like right alongside of the house. Um. And a major common area in my house is on the other side of that wall. So talking about 3, 4 yards away from the outside of the wall. And I was just
Yep.
like concerned, and I'm just like, but
I wouldn't
wasn't
worry about it, brother.
okay. Let me ask you this, man. The wire, those infrared antennas with the wire and all of that. So mine's up in the tree, and the wind blows. So the tree pulls the wire. I got a little pulley, so it's not gonna snap.
Yeah.
But does that affect your transmission, like when it's pulling, like when it's wind is blowing and pulling the antenna?
Not really, because it's not moving far enough to make a difference,
Okay.
you know, because every antenna, whether it's a wire antenna or a beam or whatever it is, every antenna is directional in some kind of way. But you would have to take a long wire and completely turn it 20, 30, 40 degrees before it makes a difference in its radiation pattern.
Okay.
So it blowing in the wind, I wouldn't worry about it.
Got you.
So
Got you.
I will put out when people put up wire antennas, make sure you leave some, like Dre put a pulley on his.
Mm-hmm.
That way, when the wind blows and the branches move, it absorbs that slack, or it absorbs the tension, put some slack in it. If you don't want to put a pulley, just leave some slack in there. And
Right.
that way, when
Right.
the wind blows and the branches move, it's got some room to give, because you don't want it to snap and then you're out there like me at night trying to fix an antenna, or it snaps and you don't see it, and you're wondering why nobody can hear you, or your SWR changed, or that kind of stuff.
Right. Right.
But
Okay.
you may just put a little slack in there. It's not gonna
Okay.
matter.
Yeah. And for those who and I practiced this. I didn't actually do it because they wind up giving me somebody wound up bringing and like a launcher, an antenna launcher for the wire. But
Yes.
I practice. I use fish wire. There's a couple
Yeah.
ways, just so for those who don't know. I put a piece of fish wire on my drone, sent the drone up about 80 feet
Nice.
over the tree and back down. So it was like up, over the tree, back down. And
Yeah.
it was easy. No shooting nothing up there. Um,
Yep.
I think there's another way you can do it. You can tape the fish wire to a baseball, and if you got, if you was a pitcher back in the day, you ain't got no problems. But if you're looking to throw about 35 feet up in the air, you good. 50 feet,
Let me see what
I
this
think I can do 50 feet. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think I can throw 50 feet. But if you could throw it up there over the tree, that might work. So that's another way you can do it. Or you can just go with the launcher and do it that way. Just wanted to give everybody some tips on how to get that over there.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. I forget what it's called. I use just a simple, like, I use fishing wire,
Mm-hmm.
and I tie that to a fishing weight, a little light, couple of ounces,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got a little slingshot, $20 slingshot off Amazon, and I shoot that as far as I can get it, up and over a branch, and
Mm-hmm.
it comes down the other side, and the other end of my fishing wire is tied to either the rope or my antenna.
Right, right,
Pull it
right.
along and tie that bad boy off another side of the tree, and you talking.
Yeah, yeah. Eric
You know,
Eric says, I've used a drone, but I also have an easy hanger. Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean it is, you're right, Eric. I mean the easy hanger, the drone, so many different ways you can do it. Um Let me ask you this. So I'm thinking about, so the antenna that I have, the MFJ 1984 HP half wave wire, that's so long. The MFJ 1984.
yeah,
It's 40 to 10 meters, right? So
right.
I have it up, but I get on 80 meters, man. My SWR, I'll tune it. It's about, I say 1.5 or whatever,
Mm.
and they can hear me, I can hear them. Um, is that odd? I mean, is that something I can continue to do even though the antenna is 40 to 10 meters? Is it still okay or safe for my I don't want to damage my radio antenna to be on 80 meters as long as the SWR is at 1.5?
Yeah.
Okay.
So as long as your SWR is lower than really lower than 3, you want it as low as possible. You want a 1-to-1.
Right, right.
But if it's 1 to 1.5, 2, you're fine. Only the
Okay.
higher your SWR is, the more power you're going to lose.
Right,
But
right.
other than that, that's what your antenna tuner, that's its job, is to take that random piece of wire and compensate for what it doesn't have. Like
Right.
yours is cut for, it's resonant. So let's talk about that for a second. Um, the antennas, when you buy an antenna that says it's a half wave antenna, it's probably say a half wave for 40 meters.
Mhm.
That means it's cut to a half wavelength at 40 meters or on
Mhm.
40 meters. And every other band below that is going to be less than that. It's going to be, well, it'll be more than that for your, um, I'm losing myself for your, there's too many acronyms in here, brother.
Take your time, man. Take your time.
For your, not your SWR, for your, yeah, what's the word? I just said it a second ago, man. But anyway, it's cut for that frequency.
Uh-huh.
So it'll work on the rest of those frequencies below that. But if you go on any other frequency, your antenna tuner will compensate for that.
Okay.
So that's what it does. Your antenna tuner is going to protect your radio for one, and tune whatever piece of wire that you have
Mm-hmm.
to a usable SWR.
Got you.
So resonant, that's the word I was trying to think of.
Okay. Got you.
It's resonant at one frequency at a half wave. So if you go from 40 meters to 20 meters, instead of it being a half wave, it's going to be a quarter wave.
Got you.
So, and if you go to 80 meters, it's not going to be a resonant antenna anymore, but your antenna tuner is going to compensate for that.
Got
And
you.
it'll still talk, but it won't be as efficient as an antenna that's cut specifically for 80 meters. So if you had an 80 meter antenna that's cut for, say, a half wavelength on 80 or a full wavelength,
Mm-hmm.
then you would probably talk further and you would
Got you.
probably hear more.
Got
That's
you.
how that works. But you're good. You're safe.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just forgot what I was going to ask. Oh man, it was a good one, man.
Contagious, man.
Whoa, what was I going to ask you, man? Oh man, I don't remember. But let me ask you this question. So the antenna I had was 40 to 10 meters, right? I was thinking about getting the MFJ 1984, the same one, but 80 to 10 meters, right? If I face that, my antenna is facing east and west.
Yep.
If I get another antenna and that one's facing north and south, will it make a difference, like a huge difference, as far as who I make contacts with and what areas and zones and all of that?
For a long wire antenna, it radiates off of the lobes come off of the side. So if the antenna, let me do it this way. If you have your antenna pointing this way, the lobes come off the sides.
Okay.
So if you're going north to south, people on the east and west of you are going to hear you very well, and they're going to hear you very well.
Gotcha.
North and south, you're not going to get a lot of people, because you got to think that radio wave is moving and it's going to hit the broad side of that antenna.
Okay.
And you'll still hear north and south, because they're still going to hit the north and south of the antenna.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole wavelength is just it's not efficient that way.
Right.
You know, that's just the nature of the science of it.
Right.
But mine kind of goes a little bit, you know, kind of catty corner.
Mm-hmm.
So I get a little bit of the best of both worlds.
Right.
But and that's here again. That's why we all have all these different types of antennas.
Gotcha.
You know,
Gotcha.
beams and long wires and verticals. Verticals are omnidirectional, so you wouldn't have to worry about it.
Okay.
But
yeah, because
that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, we definitely got to come back again. So my antenna goes up and then it slopes. So are you saying
Yep.
I can get a little bit of east and west, and you know what I'm saying? Like, do I get a little bit of everything? Okay.
Yeah, with that like mine does the same thing. It goes over that branch and comes down. I probably got about a good 10 feet of antenna that's vertical.
Mm-hmm.
So you technically have partially a vertical and a long wire.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard people say, if you don't have the room, get you a long wire and do a square around the inside of your fence.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it's 6 feet off the ground. And this guy was saying he still made contacts all over the world.
Wow.
You know,
okay.
you do what fits. You know, nature will adjust and help you out.
Gotcha.
There's no rock solid science to say if your dipole is not 30 feet off the ground and it's square and level, it ain't gonna work.
Right.
Anybody
right.
tell you that, tell them to get lost. Just put your antenna up best way you can and talk on the air.
That's right. Right. So I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna get you on this last question. I'm gonna ask you this last question, and then you just give me your final thoughts, and we're gonna end it there. Then we'll probably see if we can come back with another show the following week, so we can go a little deeper. So, and I told you this prior to us speaking on here, but I just want everybody to realize that there's no exact science to all of this. So I was on HF for about my first 2 weeks. Everything's fine. the antenna didn't need tuning or nothing. Like everything was fine, right? Then out of the blue, no rain outside or nothing, just out of the blue, every frequency was SWR was higher than somebody smoking weed for 30 days.
Oh, that's hot.
High, like how high? Method Man, Red Man, how high, right? So, and I'm just like, well, what's going on? I didn't do nothing. I ain't changed nothing. So I'm asking, well, what is it? And I'm expecting, oh, it's this. This is what it is, Dre. But like I said, you ask 10 people, you get 15 answers.
That's right.
If any of you who are new to ham radio, such as myself, if something goes wrong with your SWR or whatever it may be, it might not be one thing, man. If you driving in your car and it just cuts off, you're gonna have to check more than one thing. You can't be like, a mechanic is gonna come look at your car and he's gonna check a number of things. He's not just gonna check your alternator and say, well, it's not the alternator, so I don't know what it is. It could be anything. It could be anything. So with your antenna, just know that if something goes wrong, you have to check everything. It could be anything. It could be last night for the first time. I never heard this before. Last night I had the radio on, the dishwasher was on, and every time the dishwasher it'll be on, it'll go boom, the dishwasher. And then as soon as the water come on, it shoots this interference in my radio. Soon as the water come on, then it went off, the water. Then the water came back on, shot interference in my. It was just crazy. So I mean, all of this stuff in my house, like the lights. Oh, and another thing, these little let me show y'all. I'm gonna put this camera up just a little bit.
I got a couple of show items. I'm gonna hit on that too, brother.
I don't know if okay.
We could do another show on noise.
Hold on. Yeah. All right, so I had to get there. Look. I'm gonna show you. Look where my hand is pointing. Let me just make sure I got it there. Right there. Okay. These lights here. See these lights? You could change them. These little LED lights. That messed my radio. Let me turn it off now. That messed my radio up, man. Every time there were times where I would key up the mic and that would come on. Crazy on 80 meters. Key it up and it'll come on. So it's crazy how this stuff works, man. But go ahead, you got it.
Yeah. So fighting noise, that could be the third show of antennas. Get yourself some of these little ferrite chokes, and put them on everything. They're inexpensive. You can get them. And for the big cords, you can wrap, these around them, or wrap the cord around these. And it helps. And that's a whole another show we can get into. But everything that has any kind of current running through it emits some type of RF energy. And all of our radios are designed to be very sensitive radios because they want to pick up all the signals. Noise is a signal too. So we're going to pick up all the noise. So it's a two-edged sword, man, because everything in our house has some kind of circuit in it. And these things, they meet FCC standards, but hams weren't always in their mind when they're designing these things. Everything makes noise. So I put ferrite chokes on everything. Okay. And it helps. It doesn't kill everything, but it helps.
Got you. My brother. Oh yeah, Angel. Thanks, man. Let me adjust this thing. I got to figure out how to make these little comments a little smaller. But hey, brother, I appreciate it. Me and Ash appreciate the support. Support of all of y'all. We really do, man. So, brother Ash, I'm gonna get you out of here on a final thought, man. So it's whatever you want to say, and we're gonna get out of here on that, and then we're gonna come back probably next week and see what we can do. But go ahead with your final thoughts, brother.
All right. Well, first thing, man, thank you for having me on the show. I love this hobby. I love anything to do with radios. I love it. Been doing this since I was a kid, and I don't know where I got it from, but it's in my blood. And if you're getting into ham radio for the first time, don't let it scare you, because there's millions of hams around the world. Just reach out. The internet's the best thing in the world. Just Google some stuff. It'll teach you. Have fun. It's a hobby. It's not a job. Right. It's a hobby. Have fun with it. Get out there and experiment. Be safe putting up antennas, playing with electricity and stuff like that. Use all your safety precautions, but have fun with it.
Right. Right.
Build your own antennas and see what works and see what don't work. And just have fun.
Right.
And
All right.
that's the be safe, have fun, man.
All right, that's it. That's all we're gonna have for now, man. But hey, brother, thank you for coming through, man. I appreciate you coming on. We talked about it. I'm glad we finally we finally did it. Says Yo Dre, come to the room when you're done. Hey, brother Angel, I got some he said come to the room when I'm done. I got some stuff to do with my family. We have this thing where we watch TV as a family around 9:00. So I'll try to get in there after I do that, brother. If not, I'll be in there tomorrow. All right. 73. A Stacy says 73. But let me tell y'all this before we go real quick. I'm on the phone with brother Douglas from Chesapeake. We on the phone, right? So we about to get off. And I'm so used to ham radio. I'll be like, all right, bro. Instead of saying peace, I'll be like, all right, 73. Yo, I'm talking to people that ain't in the ham radio who know nothing about ham radio, and I'm telling them the same thing. I'm like, all right, 73. They're like, what you mean 73? Like, never mind, forget about it. Goodbye. Anyway,
that might be what sparked them to get into ham radio, man.
Yeah, you're right. But yo, I'm gonna get out of here now because I got some stuff I want to do with the fam. And yo, everybody appreciate you coming through. Eric, Stacy, everybody, Angel. Wydell, who else is in here? Everybody, man. I just appreciate y'all coming through. For just the support, man. And y'all need to check out that Buckaroo net Monday through Friday. Let me go. I'm gonna go to my. Let me see. When is this? It's Monday through Friday at 8:00. And it's on 7248. If I'm correct, yeah, 7248. Monday through Friday, they have one on Saturday. I'm not familiar with the frequency. Somebody could tell me. 7248 Monday through Friday. So Angel said, yeah, 7248, and that's Monday through Friday, Eastern Standard Time. We have one on Saturday also. Saturday is on 210. Thanks, Eric, for that. So Saturday, it's on 210, and that's like 8:00. I think it's 8:00, right, Eric? Yeah, I'm sure it's 8:00. Yep, 8 a.m. All right, so make sure y'all check out the Buckaroo Network, man. I appreciate y'all. Y'all be, just go out there and talk on the air, do your thing. I hope you got a lot from this. Ask when we finish. When we finish, stay on. I'm in this broadcast, and we're gonna get up out of here, y'all. So appreciate y'all. See y'all next week, man. We're gonna talk more about this antenna thing because we didn't get it. We didn't cover everything, but
it's got to be another show, man.
Definitely, man.
And if they have any further questions, I'll do the best I can. Find me on QRZ. Just throw my call sign in there,
okay,
and send me an email. And I'll be happy to help anybody, brother.
All right.
Let's have some fun.
That's right. All right, we'll see y'all later, man. Y'all be safe, peace, and blessings. We out.